here we go. Today's tough question brought to you by Andy Mason, AndyMasonRealestate.com. Boom, with John Adams and Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, listen to me closely, my peeps that are on the message board, because I want to hear from you. You can also send us a message via the Twitter, and we'll get to that. Orange Blood says the incomparable John Adams, and he's right. So, and Mr. President, not that John Adams. All right, today's tough question, after what you have seen, is this Tennessee football team more likely to finish 7-5 or 9-3? Now, what I would like to ask you to do on the message board, because we have the best group of fans who are passionate yet still objective, I would like for you to pick one of those and tell me why, and we'll work you in to the conversation. So, John, I will start with you. This is kind of funny well, not funny. It's sad for a lot of fans, but I actually was thinking 10-2 or 8-4 before the Florida game. And I would have probably gone with 8-4. Well, now there's another loss under Tennessee's belt. So 9-3 or 7-5, which would you pick if you had to pick one of those two records?
7-5. Tennessee now, I picked Tennessee to go 10-2 in preseason. Oops. Problems at quarterback, offensive line, and secondary. That's a lot to overcome if you're trying to win 9 games. I just don't think Tennessee can pull it off.
Caleb, 7-5 or 9-3?
I'll still, with those two, stick with 9-3 because I know there's problems at quarterback, but I do think whenever Cooper Mays gets back on the field at 100%, I think you'll see the offense look drastically different. I think they want to be able to. I think the problem against Florida is they just couldn't run the ball the way they want to, and I think with Cooper Mays back, they'll be able to do that.
I will agree with that, and I'm going to go 9-3 for that reason. I think Cooper Mays will be back eventually. I don't think there's any reason to bring him back versus University of Texas San Antonio. And I think that he'll come back and he'll bring a settling influence, a calming influence to this group that I don't think they had on the road against Florida. And I think he's just overall a better player and a leader. So Tennessee could still drop games to Georgia and Alabama, which we entered the season thinking would be the two best teams in the conference. But I'll add this as well. John, the whole conference is down. And Caleb, credit to you, sir. He said it first after the first week or first 2 weeks. It just feels like the overall conference is down. And I think Tennessee could beat an Alabama or could beat a Georgia that maybe seemed difficult because Alabama's on the road and Georgia's Georgia. But I think that's a real possibility. John?
Oh, yeah, that's probably the best thing Tennessee has going for it at this point is that it's a weakened SEC in both divisions. So, yeah, you would if Tennessee was playing well, you would certainly like its chances against Alabama or even Georgia, since that game's at Neyland Stadium. But Tennessee's not playing well, and it's not just one game. It's played bad games back-to-back now. Austin Peay, I think we wanted to maybe dismiss that as an aberration. You can do that. You say, well, Tennessee couldn't get up for an FCS opponent. It's looking ahead to Florida. But no, that was a precursor of what was to come. Tennessee struggled to put away Austin Peay, and that speaks volumes. Let's face it, Tennessee's play. And I think the schedule has given us kind of a diluted view of Tennessee because Virginia's probably the worst Power 5 conference team in the country.
I was about to bring up that point. They, if you look at what they have done this year, John, it hasn't been very impressive whatsoever. And Looking at their schedule right now that we have a little bit to work off of course, they lose to Tennessee 49-13 in the opener. They lose to James Madison 36-35, and then they lose to Maryland 42-14. The only thing good to ever come out of Maryland is sitting with us, and that's Caleb Calhoun. It's certainly not football.
Crab cakes and football. What are you talking about? That's what Maryland does.
Yeah, horrible.
And noted respecter of people's lives, Ray Lewis played in Maryland for a long time.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so
Wow.
Rocky Top Tom says 7-5 or 6-6. Elias says 9-3 if we figure out how to scheme around the issues. Well, the issues are injuries. David says with Mays 9-3 without 7-5. And I've been around a couple of football teams that have had significant injuries. Caleb and I were talking about that this morning at our 3:45 a.m. production meeting. And he said the 2002 team. Now, did Tennessee, I'm trying to recall, even though I covered that team, Kevin Burnett and Constantine Ritzman were hurt early in the season. Do fans give much of a pass for something like that? Or is it just, hey, at the end of the day, it's your record, John?
It's your record. Everybody has injuries. I mean, Tennessee has, what's it lost so far? It's lost Cooper Mays. It's lost Pilley. Those are significant losses. We assume at some point, based on the way Josh Heupel describes it, Cooper Mays is just about ready to get in there and knock some people around. That's been happening for about 3 weeks now, but he remains on the shelf, so to speak. But I think, I mean, you look around the league, other teams are experiencing injuries too. Some have suffered bigger losses in Tennessee. That's just part of it. You have to overcome injuries. That's where depth comes in.
Totally agree. And one more note from the message board I want to get to. I remind you, it's brought to you by AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Real estate experts with over 4 decades combined experience in East Tennessee. Best prices, best service in the Knoxville area. Go to AndyMasonRealEstate.com. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Dan says 7-5 based on 3 games with no improvement. Supposed to get improvement between game 1 and 2 and has not gotten better. You could argue it got worse because, I mean, definitely. But again, Virginia is just so bad, it's hard to use them as any sort of barometer in one shape, form, or fashion. Makes me think of Craig Elo defending Michael Jordan on that jump shot. That's what the Cavs remind me of.